welcome back. This is episode 8 of my Oxygen Not Included playthrough. In the last episode we laid the foundations to get our first Atmo suit set up and got those sort of in working order, allowing us to ranch the Draco is sort of easier. In this episode I want to expand out my Atmo suit sort of storage and collection. Thankfully we've got the Draco eggs finally working now and incubating. I'm not going to power those as I don't think there's that much of a rush to do so, but it is nice to know that like it's kind of there if I need to, but as I say, hopefully I won't have to. Now I am concerned that I've just seen a raw egg stored in here. There definitely shouldn't be any raw egg getting stored, as it should kind of just be straight fried into omelette, but never mind. As I say, we're waiting for more reed fibre to really get going. And we sort of started hollowing out the remaining of the slime biome. So I'm hoping to continue that today. But yeah, I mean, we're in a pretty good spot, all things considered. I think oxygen is probably going to be the next kind of problem. And this polluted water vent may be the solution to that. My concern is, with it being polluted, I'm going to need sand to filter it, at least in the early game. So as I progress into the sort of middle game and late game, I will be able to set up a polluted water boiler, and that will effectively save me having to use sand, and it will just naturally filter it in a way. But until that day comes, I think we're probably going to be best off if we can tame this sort of now, and see if we can get a SPOM up and going. So I'm going to start by hollowing out a base for it, as I think... Oh, he's fine. Unlike this polluted water, I'm going to try and keep this polluted water all clean and all coming from the vent, as I'm not going to mix it or move it around. I'm just literally going to dig out a big gap sort of here, and I will put in some insulated tiles. Igneous rock will be the weapon of choice, I suppose, and I will just build it like that, and then hopefully the dupes get on this and we get this done pretty quickly. I'll leave a gap there, just in the interest of ensuring that it actually gets completed and finished. And I will use... Will I use mesh tiles or will I just leave gaps? I think I'm just going to leave gaps, you know. As I say, I'm not particularly bothered about like how it looks. I'll just leave one gaps. And hopefully... Oh yeah, smashing. Right. And then we'll get on this, and once it's kind of sorted, we can look to taming the vent. I will need to invest the skill point in field researching, otherwise we'll not be able to see sort of what we're working with. But yeah, I will get to work on this, I suppose, and I will cut back in once it's kind of like hollowed out a bit. Okay, so welcome back. The sort of polluted water taming area is still sort of being worked on by the duplicants. However, this area is also being worked on by the duplicants, and we have located a copper volcano. Obviously this erupts molten copper that's very, very, very hot, but that copper itself is now renewable because it will just come from the volcano as soon as I set it up. So I'm not going to set this up now or today, because we don't have a sufficient cooling system to cool it down. So it comes out at 2,226.9 degrees, which isn't great. I kind of should get this boxed in urgently, because that could really, really upset a lot of my duplicates. So I'm just going to box that in with insulated tile, and that way we'll just kind of prevent anything from going wrong, prevent sort of copper from ending up turning all this water into steam and whatever else. But this polluted water vent, we've freed it up a little bit, and you may be wondering what the hell we're going to do with it. So, now, the reason I've gone for this polluted water vent earlier than I sort of was planning on doing, I know there were sort of early on discussions about whether I'd be taming either the sort of polluted water vent or the natural gas geyser, and we've kind of gone for it this episode a little bit. This thing puts out polluted water at 30 degrees, which is what you could describe as a base safe temperature, in the sense that if your entire base was 30 degrees, nothing would really die. All of our hatches are quite comfortable in 30 degree heat. Yeah, they're fine in 30 degrees. Our duplicants are fine in 30 degrees, so everyone's kind of okay in 30 degrees. The only thing that's, even then, the mealwood is fine at 30 degrees. So what we're going to do, this is the provisional plan, we're going to create what I will call a half-SPOM, in the sense that it is half powering itself, and the other half is powered by a little bit additional, because I don't want to have to make a sort of, I suppose it's like a natural gas filter, where it will filter itself out. I think I'm just going to use a gas filter to filter out the hydrogen and sort of have that powered in it. Maybe it eats a little bit of power, but at the end of the day, we're not particularly struggling for power. We're starting to struggle for toilets, but that's an easy problem to fix. So yeah, I will sort of get the polluted oxygen converted into water using a water sieve, and that will need sand, but we've got loads of that. And once that's converted, it'll go into an electrolyzer. From the electrolyzer, we'll get oxygen at 70 degrees. I plan to cool it by putting it back through the polluted water. So that will add some heat to our polluted water, but it won't be enough to upset the balance of the base. We're certainly not going to be pushing 40 degrees. We're going to be quite a bar. I'm aiming for quite a nice 35 degree oxygen coming out of it. I'm aware that people are also starving and drowning or whatever, but it's to do with slime lung again, because they've picked it up by going into this biome, which obviously isn't ideal, but we'll get some analysis done on the copper volcano as well. But yeah, as I say, I'm going to put the water sieve down here. I'm probably going to put a hydro sensor here, so I'll allow the polluted oxygen to the polluted water to build up a little bit first. And obviously this is going to off-gas oxygen anyway. It doesn't need to be boxed in, because it's never really going to go over this part. So I think I'm just going to drop a deodorizer here, and really that's going to prevent most, if not all, of the problems that we would encounter. So I'm just going to, as I say, I'm just going to run a small wire up. I'll have to run a wire in here, because I'm going to want a transformer for our water sieve, etc. Oh, he said one too high. Drop the transformer in, and there we go. So they're going to get to work on doing all of this. I've consciously allowed them to get the insulated tiling before I let the polluted water roam free. But once they sort of get to doing that, it's all going to kind of go nicely, hopefully. Yeah, and then we are well on our way to the mid-game. Food is, I mean, I think it's acting that food's a problem because people are starving. And the reason they're starving is because they're too slow to get around the base. So it might also be fire pole time. But I think we'll see on that one, because I don't think there's a particular rush for getting a fire pole in. So we have now pretty much got what I would like to call the base of what I'm doing. I'm just going to knock those two tiles down. But effectively, the plan that I have, I'm going to have a liquid pump probably here. Or should we put it? We'll put it here. And I will want an Atmo sensor. It's like a liquid sensor. Hydro sensor. And I will put that there. And I will run a small automation wire from here. I do have the resources for this. I will get some more copper going, to be honest, though. So we'll get half a ton going. Did that register? No. So this will effectively, I only want the liquid pump to come on when the polluted oxygen, the polluted water, I should say. I keep saying polluted oxygen. Polluted water reaches this level. And the reason that I'm doing it that way, because you might think, well, we could really get away with only having it to 3 tiles or even 2 tiles of polluted water, and we'd still get the benefit of the electrolyzer. The reason that I'm doing it this way, I'm very keen to use the polluted water as our cooling for our oxygen. So the electrolyzers are going to output oxygen at a ridiculous temperature. It's like 70 degrees, which isn't safe for our base. And I'm basically going to run that polluted oxygen, not polluted oxygen, it'll be clean oxygen at that point. I'll run that through the polluted water, which will be a balmy 30 degrees, and then I will output it in the base, which will heat up the base slightly. But as I say, it's not going to be anywhere near a temperature where it's unsafe for duplicants to be in there, or hatches for that matter. Everything's kind of going to be, whoa. I do not want that on, because that's going to zap power. Build that wire in. Get that to priority 6, I think. So yeah, once this polluted water vent starts going, we will kind of be in the oxygen business for a little while. Our food situation's okay, our stress situation's kind of getting worse, but it's because he's cold and ill and whatever else. Yeah, we expected that to happen. So as I say, hopefully once this gets built and sort of this gets hollowed out, which they are not so keen on doing so quickly, but that should be, yeah, that will get going. But yeah, as I say, once the vent starts going, we can think about getting this tamed. And for that taming, we will need a water sieve. I would like, for me, 3 liquid reservoirs as sort of overflow. And then I would like my electrolyzer. Now, I don't think my electrolyzer is actually going to need that much space, truthfully, because I'm only putting in the one electrolyzer. And that should be enough for 8.88 duplicants. And obviously I've got 9. So there's always room to expand it as well. But this atmosphere, I will have to make it kind of... I'll have to stabilise the atmosphere first, which is a bit frustrating, but it's not the end of the world. With it being such a small kind of... area, 16 tiles, it's easier to manage for me, as I can kind of vacuum that out, and in about 8.4 cycles we're going to be laughing, hopefully. So if we take... I need to research the electrolyzer actually, just while I'm talking about it. The electrolyzer is just there, and we'll have to find a place for our hydrogen generator to go. The hydrogen generator doesn't actually produce pretty much anything bad at all, which is obviously really good. The only thing that it does produce is power, to my knowledge anyway. And obviously a little bit of heat, but nothing that would be sort of impossible to deal with. And we've also almost got all of this stuff hollowed out, which can be nice, because I can't wait to dismantle all of this. This was a bad idea. And I think I can just kind of mop all of this up, hopefully. Yeah, if not, we'll figure something out to do with that. But yeah, so I'm going to have to drop in a hydrogen generator, or I think we'll probably just go for one. I think it can kind of sit like here is going to be okay for that. And it will also mean that we will have... I'll have to put in an overflow for hydrogen, which I will probably actually put down here where my liquid reservoirs were. And once they kind of get to sort of flowing, we will get a backlog of hydrogen. I am hoping that I will be able to set up a sort of automation to where we can quite simply just turn the overflow on when the polluted water vent goes dormant. So that's going to be, what, for 40% of the... About 50-50 is going to be active and dormant. when it's dormant, I will just put the overflow hydrogen back it through the hydrogen generator so we can stabilize the power output from it a little bit more. But again, it's not going to be to the point where it's going to have a huge impact on the base. It's certainly not enough power where it's going to be like, wow, we don't need to worry about it anymore. We're still going to have our coal power, and the hydrogen power is really kind of just going to supplement that. But I mean, at this stage, we've only got, what, maybe a third, or probably a bit more than a third with the Sage Hatchling ranches, or Sage Hatch ranches. But about a third of our hatch power going. So really, power at this point is not a concern. I am a lot more focused on getting the oxygen set up to a point that I'm happy with it. So, for the polluted water, I just want to run it through the sieve, which needs sand, and then I will run it into a liquid reservoir. I will have a liquid shut off, purely to be able to turn the electrolyzer on and off without the need of a switch. What? Right, okay. There's a lesson there. There really is. Be careful where you build pipes. Because now I've made a right mess. Okay. What are you doing? How am I? Oh, for God's sake. And we're back. So yeah, try to only that doesn't need to be yellow though, but try to only build where they're not going to have to break something. I keep making a point, and if you've been sort of watching for a while, you'll be aware that when I'm talking about like gases, and especially like liquid locks, the importance of being careful where you put your power wires, because in order to place the power wires, they will often break tiles and dig tiles, and in those split seconds, what can happen is you'll have mass contamination. You have just witnessed firsthand mass contamination and what that actually translates to and looks like. It is a pain in the arse. Now I've got to tidy all of that up, and I don't particularly want to tidy all of that up. I don't feel like I should have had to, really. I don't know what the hell they were playing at. That's just not great, is it, really? So as I was saying, when this gets in its swing, and the water filter gets going, the water sieve gets going, sorry, we can put in a power shut off, or to be honest, we can actually, I think I'll just automate the electrolyzer, because it's 6 and 2 3s really. But if you drop in the electrolyzer into where you want it, I'm going to have it out to gold, purely for, again, I need to change that yellow alert, purely because I don't want to have to worry about temperature or heat. We'll just drop in 2 gas pumps, and the reason I do 2 gas pumps, purely, I just prefer it. I think it's easier to manage with 2 gas pumps. They can both pull out sort of the 500 grams a second. This produces 1 kilo a second of gas. At this point, it's undisclosed gas, because it will be a little bit of hydrogen, a little bit of oxygen, a little bit of everything, really. And as I say, once I will have to wire this all in, and that won't be too bad. But when I put the gas filter, I'm going to put the gas filter here. The reason I'm filtering it here rather than what would make more sense is like you run it down here, because you're going to output your oxygen into a vent probably here, and then your hydrogen's going to have to go down all the way to the generator. So why not just, you know, put the filter here? The reason for that is I want to cool the oxygen down up here, so I'm going to filter it out here and then get it going through probably this tile, so that doesn't happen again. But I mean, that's part of the fun of this game. You make mistakes like that and you get really frustrated at it, and yeah, and you have to watch as these idiots complain about having soggy feet. Soggy feet, yucky lungs, chilly surroundings. Right, well, if you weren't idiots, I suppose is the polite way of saying it, you wouldn't have had to deal with all of this. Because it just would have stayed where it was supposed to stay. Oh god, that's frustrating. At least it's not Jeremy, to be fair, and at least all of the polluted oxygen that will output has been contained. So actually, I think if anything, that's a sign of excellent base management, because when I have had a nightmare, it's been saved solely by my good planning. So I've set this to 400 kilos, and it's specific to this tile. So we will have effectively, let's say what is it, 2,000 a square, or is it 1,000? It's about 1,000 kilos a square. That's about a ton a square. We've got, for simplicity's sake, 96. So we'll have about 100 tons of polluted water banked before we even start producing or pumping it out. Now, I think that will save us a hell of a lot of time. My only slight concern is that because of the way these, because of the sort of water mechanics, there's a chance that it overflows and just jumps straight. So I'm going to straight away just get rid of these tiles, and that should prevent that from happening. This is all going to keep off-gassing, so I'm going to sweep all of that up. But yeah, I mean, this has got 6 cycles on it. The copper volcano's fine for, it doesn't say how long it's fine for, but it should be fine for a little while. High stress, why is he so stressed? Yeah, there you go. Sopping wet will be the big part of it. Poor guy. We should maybe think about de-stressing him, but I don't think that's going to be particularly necessary for now. I think I'm just going to let them crack on with this, and what I will do is I will cut to when the polluted water vent gets going, and we've got all of this set up. So I might cut in a few cycles beforehand and show you how I'm going to make sure the electrolyzer's working. So yeah, no, I'll see you then. Okay, so effectively, I've built the bulk of the work that's going to be required for this, or what I'm calling Half-SPOM. It's all just going to run off my power grid. It's not going to be kept independent of the power grid, because I think, to be honest, my power grid's going to run longer than I keep this design, if you know what I mean. Like, this can be chopped and changed and moved around and whatever. And it is kind of half sustainable. Especially with the water save. It's going to produce polluted dirt. I am going to have my polluted dirt probably manually carried to my sage hatchling ranches, and then I think they can eat polluted dirt from the top of my off the top of my head. Polluted dirt. Yeah, they can eat polluted dirt. So that's effectively going to solve that problem for me. I'm having a bit of an issue with Abraham at the moment, because he's very stressed, bless him. He's basically been doing a lot of donkey work within this slime biome, so he's just basically sick of his life. He's got slime lung. It's sort of everything's gone wrong for the poor guy. But anyway, let me sort of explain how this is going to work, because I'm actually going to vent this out now. So the ventilation is kind of the key part of this, and it's also the reason why this is not a SPOM, because it uses a gas vent. This should sort of turn back on itself, because there's no point in it being there. There's no kind of way for it to go. Interesting. But effectively, is that overpressuring? Is that why? It doesn't matter anyway. So the gas will come out of these pumps. It will be oxygen and hydrogen. It will get to this filter. All of the oxygen will be filtered this way, and all of the hydrogen will be filtered this way. The hydrogen temperature doesn't particularly matter, because it's going into a generator where I don't care about the heat. The oxygen temperature, however, does matter quite a lot. So these are just radiant pipes built out of gold, and they're going to run around, and then it's just going to come straight out next to where my atmosphere dock is. And hopefully this will also help prevent this wrong element damage, without the need of a filter. Not particularly why I've done it, but good to know that the option's there. This pipe is blocked because there's no output, which is fine. And this is now vacuumed. So there is literally no reason why my duplicants would ever need to go into this room, hence the locked manual airlock. But if there ever is a need for them to go in there, I have no idea what that would look like. Perhaps if it was overheating and I need to add some cooling in, that could be a reason. I'd be able to get access to it, which is kind of important. But as I say, it's in there, but I'm hoping that I never need it. So yeah, once this starts going, which will be in about 4 cycles, it will be kind of just left to its own devices. There is no need for me to do anything with this at all, really. It might be worth putting in an airflow tile just to let the carbon dioxide skim off, but even then, we've kind of got like oxygen coming out of it from the polluted water. So yeah, no, that's this is kind of what I would say is the earliest example of oxygen production without the need of algae, because it just uses an electrolyzer, and it's not going to overheat my base, fingers crossed, and it's not really going to cost me anything at all to run beyond maybe the 120 watts of power that will be used in the gas filter. That's the only thing I can feasibly think that will take longer, or take power from the system. When it gets to the hydrogen generator down here, I will put in some gas reservoir sort of overflows. However, because of the length of the gas pipe that I'm going to be using, it's going to have to run all the way down here. It's kind of going to have a built-in overflow, as it will just sort of sit in the gas pipe. I don't think temperature is going to be a problem within that. If it is, it's going to be built out of insulated pipe anyway, so it won't be, even if it is a problem, it won't be a big one. But yeah, in terms of Atmos suits, we need more iron, we need more reed fibre, so we're kind of getting there with them. But it is just a case of waiting the cycles for this to get set up and get going. It might actually take, it could take 100 cycles, will it? 10 kilos at 30 Celsius every second, and it'll go for, what? I don't even know. It'll go for a while. I think we might get use out of this in the next few cycles, maybe 10 cycles, it might get up there. I don't know, truthfully. But it also means we've maintained this polluted water, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with that. But regardless, and this is kind of set up now. And once this is set up, Atmo suits are a lot easier to work with, because you've kind of got an oxygen pipe rather than having this set up where it's kind of like, well, there might be oxygen, it's very easy to contaminate, whereas coming out the electrolyzer, it's just pure oxygen. I can siphon some off and run it straight into suits, which it will be what I do. It will take probably a little bit longer to set up, because you need more than just the more than just the oxygen. You need the big long pipe of where it's going, you need all of the Atmo suits that it's going to, and these are just things that I don't know yet. Maybe this part of the base, I will run the heavy watt wire, get rid of this wire, put a heavy watt wire there, and we have this all in Atmo suits. That might make it slightly easier when we come to getting into this caustic biome again, and preventing our duplicants from generally getting sad. Because bless him, this biome has really affected Abraham, like massively so. But yeah, I think we're in a really good spot there with the way we've tamed this. What I'll do is I will continue just to tidy some things up, and I will cut back to when this starts erupting, and I'll give a brief demonstration of what it kind of looks like when it's working. So I will catch you then. Welcome back. So the polluted water vent is 0.3 cycles from activating. by way of sort of explanation of what I've done for the last 4 cycles, I've basically just swept up the bedrooms a little bit, and I started getting down to here. I've now spotted this neural facilitator, maybe. I'll explain what that does in the next episode, sort of when we get on it. And 0.2 here, and I will very, very, very briefly, because I don't feel that this level of cooling is currently sufficient for dealing with the oxygen. I will briefly explain, I will briefly demonstrate, sorry, what this actually looks like and does. But I will wait for it to actually start emitting, I should say. We have had a hatch, I suppose. We're about to have another one, which is really good. Hopefully we can get the population of the hatches up a little bit more. And we're on for it. Here we go. So, this starts going. Never mind. This is going to idle first, and then it's going to start going. It does have food poisoning germs, but as I've said in videos gone by, food poisoning germs are okay so long as you don't touch them. You can breathe them, and slime lung, you can touch them. Just don't. What's a word? What's a turn of phrase? Don't breathe them. Just touch slime lung. Don't breathe it. Breathe food poisoning, but don't touch it. Anyway, so this will set the water pump off, and thankfully these germs, I can deal with them later. I mean, should I so wish I could pump this room full of chlorine and set it up that way. And I say food poisoning safe to breathe. I am assuming that it is safe to breathe. We then get this going. These two get started, and we get out a pretty consistent stream of both gases. And these go through. It comes out at 50, 40 degrees. These go through, and very quickly the oxygen is reduced in temperature quite massively. And then that is effectively our first half-SPOM. I'm going to turn this off in the interest of not, gassing everyone out with 100-degree oxygen, but it's going to come out here eventually. Where is it? Yeah, we're getting there. What are we? 27 degrees. Not too shabby. That's about where we wanted it to be. I'm going to come out here. Yeah, and there you go. So that's going to start effectively just outputting and make sure everything is going smoothly. And it won't start outputting until it gets to a point where it's sufficiently high, slash we have sufficient backlog of water to deal with the generation of it all. But yeah, no, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and a comment, and if you fancy it, subscribe. But if not, that's absolutely fine as well. Other than that, I will see you in the next one. We will probably look to continue our expansion, and I will explain sort of what this building does effectively. But yeah, no, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.